Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick video about scope and the scope of variables within the context of your program. If you've been programming for a while, you definitely understand this concept. If not, you might have been programming a little and realized that in some parts of your program, your variables are accessible and other parts they're not. We're going to talk about that here. So as you can see right here, I have a for loop, and I should be incrementing this score variable by 2 every time this loop runs. But when I try to log out the final value of score here at the end, I'm getting an error. It says use of undeclared identifier score. So why doesn't this log statement know about score? That's because score is being created in this for loop and it is a local variable. So it's a local variable to this for loop. The outside of this loop has no idea about this variable. There are local and there are global variables. This is local, especially in the context of this for loop. Now, if I was to come out here above this auto release pool and I make a variable score and set it equal to 2, you're going to see the error go away. And if I run it, it's not going to be whatever it would have been here from the incrementing. It's going to be 2. So right here is what's getting printed out here. And then on the flip side, if I was to go ahead and comment this out, cut and paste this, I could paste this here, but it's going to constantly log out score, score, score. Now, one thing you could do is get rid of this, throw it up here, and then print out the score after. Now this score variable is no longer local to just this for loop, but the outside of it, this auto release pool knows about the score variable as well. This goes for if-else statements as well. So I'm going to go ahead and write out an if-else statement. I'm going to make a function up here. Okay, so I have this function up here. Let's say I have a video game and I want to know how many lives that our character starts with. So it's going to return an integer. The integer we're going to return is the number of lives we'll start with. And that number of lives is dependent on whether the player has selected hard mode or not. So the parameter is whether or not this game is set to hard mode. If it is set to hard mode, then we're going to make variable number of lives equal 2. Else, if it's not set to hard mode, we'll make it equal 5. And then we want to return it back to the game so we can use this variable to do whatever else we need in the game. We don't want to just print it out. We need the variable back. When I try to return it, I'm getting the same problem. I have the use of undeclared identifier number of lives because the scope of the variable I've created is within this if and else statement. They're local variables to this. So I can't access this here. What I would do to solve this problem is just create the variable above the if-else statement. It's no longer local to the if-else statement. And I'll remove the variable type because we're not declaring the variable, we're just changing the value. And there we go, our problem is done. If we wanted to call it, and we say yes, it is hard mode, then we could have our number of lives here. So we'll see here, if we run this, we'll have 2 lives because it is yes, set to hard mode. So it's just a little bit about variable scope. There are certain ways you can solve it. One thing you could do is create a global variable, but that's generally frowned upon because then you can access this variable's value throughout the entire program. So don't think that just because you have problems with scope, just keep taking this variable and making it as global as possible. Just try to take it to the next level so you can access that later on. So right here, I just took this out of the if-else statement, I didn't do this. This would be a bad idea, just creating this global variable, because this number of lives variable is only needed in this function. So I don't want to make it global. So that's a quick wrap up of local and global variables. You're going to see it a lot. So just know that if somehow your program doesn't know about your variable, you may have a problem with scope.